Okay, you should be able to go live now.
All right.
Ready?
Yep.
All right. Okay, I think we got it. All
Oh,
right,
do I
what's
have
up,
to unmute?
everybody? Are you on there?
Yeah, I
You hear
think I
me
had to hit the unmute button.
on live?
Yeah, on Instagram.
Yep, you good?
Oh, it's a back. Um,
It's a little bit delayed,
should I
so
hit the mute button?
or just turn your volume down. I don't hear an echo. Do you hear an echo?
Well, I hear it when it plays back because you know how it's like a few minutes, like some seconds ahead.
Just yeah,
So
mute it. Yeah, hit mute.
I hit the mute on Instagram, but I don't. Would they be able to hear it?
No, yeah, they'll be able to hear it because it's streaming.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So I muted it on Instagram. Okay.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna just toggle back and forth. So I'm gonna come back to the studio
Just take a
because
shot. All right.
the studio version is more like it's like live. Whereas if I'm looking at it from Instagram, it's like a delay.
It's a delay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody in that is tapping into us. We are here with another live. Um, so this week we're going to talk about our journey into using tarot and oracle cards. Of course, every week, at the end we always pull cards for everybody. So we're going to start like tapping into our journey, just share our journey of how we got into it and how we were able to use tarot and oracle cards as a tool, because these are all tools that you use. They're part of your spiritual journey, that are just tools. The energy, the magic, everything that, whatever you consider it, the Godhead that's inside of you, these are all just external tools that we use to like pull the energy out so that we can use it for ourselves. So because tarot and oracle card readings are such big in me and Naima's life, we just wanted to kind of share our journey on that. So before we get started, I did want to share this. Spirit hit me with over the last day or two of how I'm a real professional person. So I've been putting a lot of energy into like getting this whole thing, this live thing set up professionally, and marketing it, trying to get more followers. And Spirit just like really hit me like, don't worry about all of that. Like, you have people that are tuning into you right now. That's what you need to focus on. So I want to first of all apologize to the people that have been tuning in. Like, I'm gonna start putting my energy more into that instead of trying to reach out and grab people that don't even matter. So if you're here, that means that we vibrate on certain on some sort of level that we're all able to benefit and connect with each other. So I'm gonna start focusing in more on that and trying to reach people. If you find yourself here, Spirit led you here, and we're just gonna kind of keep it on that level. So I just wanted to start it off by saying that.
Yeah, it's hard because it's hard, when you have this vision for yourself and then stacked against what everybody else is doing. It's hard to kind of like hone in and zone in and focus on you and what's important for you. And that's like a natural thing, that's natural. So kudos to you for having that realization and sharing that with us, because if you're feeling like that, chances are a lot of other people are feeling that too. So
that's true. That's true. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that.
You're
We
welcome.
beat up on ourselves a lot, but when that awareness comes, it's just like, all right, I got it. Boom. I'm wasting energy.
Yeah.
Let's focus on what we
got.
Yeah,
because it's like we have to remember that we're on our own journey. Like, everybody is on their own journey, and it's gonna look different from person to person.
So true. So true. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start. So Naima, you're the tarot queen. Let's just put that out here. You're the tarot queen, Naima. And did you?
That
Did
so
you?
funny. I would never refer to myself as that.
I'm more of an oracle guy, but Naima's more on the tarot side. So, Naima, if you actually want to get started, if you want to open it up, because everybody knows, a lot of people don't know about oracle cards necessarily. They always hear about tarot card, read a tarot card. So, since you're more tapped into the tarot side of things, if you want to kind of start us off and just tell, like, how did you get into tarot? Like, what even sparked that up? Like, how did you like find tarot and get into it and get tap into it so deep that
So
you are?
it kind of like it's a very integral part of my spiritual journey. So of my spiritual awakening, so to speak. Like as soon as I like tapped in spiritually, the tarot card stuff was there. It was already there, and I was just like I just zoned right into it, and I was like, this is my language, so to be let's see, let me try to think like exactly where. Well, it all started like I had a friend who basically she was a crystal, or not crystal, well, a jewelry maker, and she used crystals. And that's kind of like how it started, because I asked her, I was like, oh, what is this is pretty. And she was like, yeah, that's rose quartz. I see rose quartz for you. And I'm like, what do you mean? She was like, your heart chakra. And I was like, what is a chakra? Like, and then kind of like that was kind of like the key to Pandora's box, or whatever they say, the key that opened Pandora's box. Because once I started researching like chakras and things like that, I would come across other people who were tarot readers, and I quickly understood like that there's like a frequency, just like how you mentioned earlier, like we are all here because we vibe on some type of like frequency. So every reader is not the same, so it's one of those things where I came across someone's channel, and I was really like just into it. Like I would feel something from the images of the tarot cards. So that's really kind of like what really started it. Like I would see these tarot cards being displayed, it's on YouTube, and I would I would feel the message, but I would also feel something when I see these images. And I was just really intrigued. I was like, wow, this is interesting. So it led me to buy like my first deck, and connecting with the images, and I just kind of like, the rest is history. Like it just feels very natural for me. It doesn't feel like I'm doing something that's gonna take forever to learn, like it just feels like very natural. So I clearly know now, I didn't know this then, but now like this is something that I've carried like from life to life, cycle to cycle. Like this is, it's in like embedded in my DNA. Yeah, so that
I
was
love
kind of
that.
like for me, yeah.
I love that. I love
I
that.
think the key thing is the feeling, like seeing the
Right.
cards, like the feeling of it. And then at some point, maybe like about a year later, yeah, because this all started around the time that like my mom had transitioned. So then after that, I would like get messages that was just so reminiscent of her energy. So that was another thing. I was like, oh, this is like, it's so much more than just
Right.
reading a card for today's energy, like that's why I put tapping, using these tools for divine guidance, because that is, I mean, we could go on and on about all the
Yeah.
stuff that has happened in my life with tarot.
Right.
Like I pulled
Right.
cards before, and it's clearly telling me, my ex-husband, like, oh, you need to dead this, like, in the cards, and it's like I don't know, you see these messages, and you're like, is this for real? Like, I ain't ready, like,
Right. Yep. Yep.
yeah, but,
I love that.
yeah.
So
So
how long have
oh,
you
go ahead.
been? I'm going to ask you this one more time. Then this one question. Then I'll get into mine. How long have you
Yeah,
been using tarot?
I want to say since 2019, like the summer of 2019. That is the like spring summer 2019 is when I started my when I had my spiritual awakening, and it just led, like the tarot cards just fell into place. Like I said, I would come across these readers. Like it was like 2 or 3 channels that I would watch, and I'm just like, I can do this for myself, kind of thing. It
Right.
kind of like, that's what it triggered in me, because I'm like, I'm feeling these images, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, okay, let me let me see what this is, what this can do for me. And it was the rest is history. It just like fell into place like melting butter. Like yeah. So since 2019, what is that, like 5 years? So
Yep. Yeah. So you've been in the game for a minute.
yeah.
Yeah. So for me, my journey was, I've told this story a lot, but when I first started waking up and stepping on my spiritual journey, I was blessed to have a very, very good spiritual teacher that, it was all spirit led. It wasn't something that I was looking for. It wasn't something that, I don't know. It just kind of happened. All I knew is that I had decided that I wanted to deepen my spiritual journey. That's basically the only action that I took. Everything else just kind of lined itself up in my life. So as I started to work with her, and in the beginning, I was doing, and I was just so curious. So I was going to a lot of like different readers and like seeing how they were able to like pull cards and like tap into my energy and like tell me stuff about myself based off of the cards. It was something that made me go like, oh shit, like I love that. And my first spiritual teacher, she would do the same thing. So one of the things that she did was pull oracle cards. Like she didn't use tarot, but she used oracle. And eventually, when I started training under her, she was just like, you'll be really good with this. Like she could already see it. She was like, you're really good with. Before I even knew it, she was like, you're really good with reading oracle. So I'm gonna buy you your first deck. I'm gonna send you your first deck, and I'm gonna teach you how to use it. So she sent me my first deck. I'll never forget it. I was traveling. I think I was in like Charleston or something, and I got it sent to. I told her to send it to the hotel because that's where I'll be. And I was so excited to get it. I couldn't wait till I get home. And I remember just opening. It was my first deck was my totem deck, which totems are based off of the animals and like the energies of the animals. And it's crazy that she knew that because I've always been like really obsessed with animals and watching the Animal Planet and just like really enamored by what animals mean and like how they move and like their different strengths and things like that. So I really connected with animals. I was already really connected with animals. So when I got the cards and these different animals that were in the cards, it just kind of like started clicking for me. So of course, like over the years, I've bought different oracle decks and started using tarot and things like that. And there's always a bit of that explains, what each thing means. But of course, like our own experience, it's almost like a default of what it means. And then, but I already kind of had a connection with animals, so it just kind of added to it. So and the more I used it, the more I pulled like for myself, for other people, those definitions changed. Whether the base, the foundation of it was still the same, but the perspective always changed depending on the situation or the person or the energy. And every time it's like spot on. So I was just like, yo, this is crazy. And I just started learning that it's not necessarily the cards. It's just a form of, like you said, Naeem, it's a form of communication. I like you said that, like they talk to you, and it's really your spirit talking to yourself, like an external way of your spirit talking to you through the cards. So every time we're putting cards, it starts to like communicate these messages based off of the situation or whatever you're looking for. And I started realizing how powerful it is and that it's real, because for a while I'm like, is this shit even real? Like, is this in my head? Like, how is this happening? And I remember it being like a period of me working with my spiritual teacher of like this big mystery, because I would just be talking to her over the phone and she would just be telling me stuff. I'm like, how the fuck did she know this stuff? And like she started taking the mystery out by saying like, okay, one of my tools, she had many tools, but one of the tools that I use Oracle, and I use my Oracle cards, and like oh, okay, that's helping you to find out what's going on with me. So taking that and then starting to use it myself has been like a real, and I still have my first deck. It's kind of like tethered because it's like travel everywhere with me.
Yes.
It's so much. It's like the cards are kind of like, they're not raggedy, but they're used. I mean, they just kind of, they don't look brand new, and I love that about it. It's
That's
like
the beauty of it. Yeah.
yeah, it's the beauty of it all. So yeah, that's kind of how I like got into using Oracle cards, and it's like the more I use it and the more I learn, the deeper it goes. Like I used to have
Mhm.
to pull like long spreads, like 5 or 6 cards to find out the message, to like find a long message. But it's like now I could pull one card, and that one card has like goes so deep for me now because it goes as deep as you are deep.
Yeah.
So the deeper I go within myself, the deeper I can go in my cards. So it's like
Mhm.
a constant journey. Like the higher I vibrate, the more I learn, the more I understand more about myself and my spirit and my magic. The more the cards speak to me and give me more like information and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's just been
And
like
I
a
like
really. Go ahead.
no, what were you saying?
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, you say
Oh,
you like.
and I like to like I want to I like to is what I was gonna say. And I like to share this too. Is that I remember when I first started reading tarot and oracle.
Mm,
I have both, but I
mm,
usually mostly I always start with the tarot. And I remember because I want to get this as a painting one day. If I can like partner with an artist to get this turn this image into a painting. So basically, what I see like I use my tarot to connect with my spirit team, my higher self,
mm,
my guides. Like so, what I envision is me sitting at a desk like this with my cards, and on the other side is the spiritual realm with like
mm,
my higher self, my ancestors, my animal totem, like all these
mm.
like guides, and connecting to me through the cards. So it's always like it's never just the cards that has a message. It's the
Right,
energy that you're connecting to with these cards,
right,
which
right.
is why protection is always important. Just like
Yes.
how you set protection when you go into meditation, you set protection when you go anywhere, you set those intentions. Same thing with when you're reading tarot and oracle, you should always make sure you set intentions
Mhm,
around protection, because
mhm,
there's when you walk the spiritual path, you are a light, and all everything
mhm,
sees you. Lower
mhm,
vibrational energies as well. You know what I'm saying? So you always want to make sure you tap in and ask your team for protection, so that you're not getting those low frequency energies like interfering your reading. That's why I feel like it's always important to be in a good energetic space, mental space when you
yeah,
are connecting. I know some
mhm,
people, and to each his own, but for me personally, like no judgment here, but for me personally, if I'm like angry, sad, or crying, like I'm not gonna like pull terror out the way for myself to calm down, because I don't want any energies tied to that type of vibration to
mhm,
infiltrate my connection, right?
mhm.
And a lot of times when you are in that space, you probably don't even think to set protection for that. So like that's the thing. Like so that's
Yep,
for me. So if
yep,
I'm like sad or depressed or angry about something, I might not remember to set protection, so that type of those frequencies don't like infiltrate my connection to my spirit team. So that's another thing I just wanted to share, because it's not just the cards, it's like the energy that you're tapping into that's going into those cards.
that is so true. Let me
Right.
you know what? You know what's funny? It sounds like somebody's alarm going off in their car. And you just talking about protection, like protecting yourself. The
Yeah.
alarm going off is like protection.
Yeah.
That's like that's right in alignment.
Whew,
Um,
hopefully it stops soon.
so I just need some stuff that you were talking about. I want to write down. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I guess you know what? Let's just talk about that a little bit. We're kind of going ahead of ourselves a little bit, but I do want to talk about the importance of protection. Since spirit dropped in that alarm going off.
Mhm.
So this is this is like a long topic. I'm gonna try to like chop it up a little bit, but you can kind of apply this to anywhere in your life with when it comes to protection. So anytime you're going into a spiritual space, in a certain way, you're vulnerable.
Mm,
So you always have to make sure to set protections. It's almost like with anything in life, you know, you're kind of vulnerable if you don't have protection.
right.
And just like in life, reflects spirit. Um, when you start pulling cards and you start tapping into yourself spiritually, you're tapping into different realms and worlds. So with that being said, you have to be. I love Naima that you like really drill in intention. So you have to be really intentional when you go into these spaces because you can really attract anything, any type of energy, and it could be energy that you don't want to pull in. So, setting intentions, number one, like, okay, I want to connect because whatever. Like, I need insight on my day, or I need insight on my job, or whatever. You'll tap into that space of like the communication with your job or with your day or whatever it is, so that you don't get information from 20 years from now or from the past or from somebody else's energy, you know. So like
Mm-hmm.
tension, that's kind of like a boundary to set, like, this is, I want this on with this specific information, I just want it from here, you know, so that you can get the message, the communication that you intended on. Because if not, if you just go and start pulling cards, you're gonna get shit from wherever the fuck, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I'm glad that you brought that up about protection and
Mm-hmm.
also intention, because those are two,
Mm-hmm.
like, huge things when you're dealing with any kind of spiritual tools. Like, it
Right.
doesn't be tarot or oracle, but any rituals that you do, anything, like, you have to make sure to set intentions. Just don't jump out there, you know, doing rituals or doing anything spiritual, because you can pull in different types of energy. And also, I'm glad that you brought up your mindset too. It's always a good idea to meditate to get yourself grounded before you tap into these spiritual spaces. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you're upset or sad or depressed or angry or whatever, and you go into pulling cards or tapping into yourself spiritually, you're vibrating at a level of anger or sadness or whatever. That's very low vibrational.
Yeah.
So you're going to start attracting messages and entities that are at that vibration.
Yes.
So,
And you want to be mindful if you, and this is just a tip, if you ever find yourself in that same like situation, be mindful of the message that you're receiving. How is it making you feel? Because
mm-hmm,
when you're connected to the divine and your spirit team, it's always going to come, the message should always impact your heart. Like, it should activate your heart space. It shouldn't make you
mm-hmm,
more angry. So if you're
right,
mad, and let's just say you're mad at something, you have this anger, and you go and you pulling cards on it, and the cards are perpetuating that anger, right? They're like, you're like, yeah, that I knew that motherfucker. Da, 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 da. You right, and it no, that
mm-hmm,
should not happen. Okay, you should feel something in your heart space that makes you see things from a different perspective, and
yep,
it's from love. And
yep,
I mean, at least that's what's for me. Like,
mm-hmm,
and I feel like that is a good tell to know if you're connected to like an energy that is not for your highest good, you know.
mm-hmm.
So always be mindful of how you feel, because it's not the readings aren't going to serve your ego.
Yes, that's crazy. I literally just wrote down ego, like spirit and ego. Um, yeah, when you're using these tools, you're communicating. You're finding a way to communicate with your spiritual
Mhm.
side. So what happens is that you use these cards to get messages from the spiritual realm. So in order for you to get the message clearly, like you said, Naomi, you have to receive it in a space of love through your heart. Once you get it in your heart, then you use your mind to communicate that to your ego self. Because
Mhm.
sometimes the messages don't come through as like like we're speaking in English and sentences and using these like terminology so that we can communicate with each other as humans. But when you're dealing with spirit, it doesn't always come out that way. It comes through as a feeling. And once you
Yes.
feel it, then you can kind of process it and then bring words to it and sentences and meaning and perspective to it. So yes, it's really important to make sure that you are in a space of love, because if you try to receive these messages and you're in your ego, you're in your head too much, or you're in a space of anger or whatever the fuck, you're going to receive it in that space and it's going to come through unclear.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's why it's always, if you're going to communicate with spirit, you have to be in a space of presence of spirit within your body, which is always in a space of love and in your heart.
Yes. Yes.
That way you can get the true communication.
Yes. And I'm gonna piggyback off of that because I'll share an experience. So one day I was like really in my feelings, like really like sad and like just overwhelmed about something. And I knew I wanted to connect to like my higher self for some guidance, right? So what I do, I'll sit at my sacred space and I'll just allow myself to calm down, you know, like my candle, like spray my energy mist or whatever, or incense, and just allow myself time to calm down. And I can feel like the sadness and everything kind of like suppressing and going away, and then I can feel this loving like energetic force kind of take over, and that is when I know like my spirit team is here. So when Justin says like you can feel it when you connect to spirit, there's so true. Like, and I'm sharing this because it's like he hit the nail on the head. Like I'm literally sitting here like feeling all like sad and overwhelmed and everything, and it, as soon as I take the time to connect to myself and to like, you know, meditate a little bit and let those energies like go down, I can immediately feel the love from like spirit and my guides come in over me. So that's dope that you say that, because now I can receive answers from, you know, my heart space, you know, and not from the ego. So
Yes,
yeah. Sorry, I live on a busy street, y'all.
no, it's all good because it's sending messages through, it's sending oracle through at the same time. Um, I love that you brought that up, like your mindset and your like the way you feel and get yourself centered. Because one thing that I struggled with, that was a challenge for me in the beginning, was that is important in using this as a tool, and any spiritual tool, is belief. And not necessarily believing in the cards, but more so believing in the messages that you're receiving. Because
Right.
what happens a lot of times, especially in the beginning of my journey, is I would get a message and I knew it was true. I felt it, but it wasn't what I wanted to hear. It wasn't what my ego wanted to hear. So I'm like, I don't believe that. I'm going to pull another card. And then the next card that came out basically was saying the same shit. Like, you're not fucking listening. Okay, I'm going to tell you the same shit again. So there's a certain level of like trust and belief. Like I said, it goes back to within yourself, trust and believe in yourself. That has to come with that as well, because when these messages are coming through, you have to trust that it's the truth, even if you can't quite see it. Because a lot of times, you're receiving spiritual messages. Spiritual messages, spirit doesn't go with time like that. They don't, like, time isn't a spiritual thing. That's a thing of this earth and of this construct and like the ego that we use to run the earth or whatever. That's not something that's spiritual. Spirit is in the past, present, and the future all at the same time. That's kind of a hard concept for us to like understand as humans, but that's just how it works. And I know that because of me working with spirit. So when you get messages, sometimes you'll get messages in the future. Sometimes you'll get messages from the past that are giving you lessons that you need to use right now.
Yes,
So
yes,
if you don't believe or trust in yourself enough to receive the message, you're not going to get it.
yeah,
So like, it's sometimes like that don't make sense. Like, why am I getting a message from the future? Like, this doesn't even make sense. Where you need to hear that right now so that you can take the direction from the message that you're getting in the future. So
yeah,
it's very layered, I guess I should say.
yeah,
It's a lot of different things because you're working with spirit, and when you're working with spirit, you have to understand spirit and how spirit works. And spirit is not this thing of like, it's like a god up in a high in the sky and you have no contact with it. Like, no, spirit is
It's
inside of you.
within.
You know how
Yeah.
your spirit works based off of you. Like, your spirit is what animates your body. So you know your spirit. I'm just saying like that. You know your spirit. You may not have been in contact with it enough or trusted it enough. I'm gonna say that. Not even in contact with it, but you may have
It's
not
the trust.
trusted it enough. But you're always connected to your spirit. So you're gonna know what that message means. Now, whether you listen to it or not, this is where the ego comes in. Whether you listen to it or not, that's your decision and choice. That's where your own choice comes in. But the funny thing about tarot and about oracle cards is that it's going to tell you the same shit until you listen. It's so funny how that shit works.
Yo, like my spirit team can be a little sassy sometimes too, and I can hear. I would never forget this. At some point, so since we have talking about our tarot and oracle origin story, right? So like at some point, when you first get your deck, you like, yeah, you asking all these questions, and I kept asking like the same thing, but kind of like rewording it, and I heard, stop asking us the same damn question, like. I heard that and I was like, dang, they mad because the way the cards like jumped out, like the energy with the cards, like they kind of like just like fell. And it was just, I would never forget, it was just like this weird energy, like they just fell. And then I heard, stop asking us the same damn question. And I went back and I was like, looking at my tarot journal, I was like, oh, I keep asking. I keep asking him the same question. So like your spirit team, like they'll get on your ass if you keep asking them the same question. But I think it was just time for me to elevate like my connection with that particular tool. So even like now to this day, like I stay away from yes or no questions. I don't ask yes or no questions anymore. Now it's all about what it like, how can I say it? Like what do I like, basically what do I need to heal, embody, or step into to experience XYZ or whatever like that. It's like it isn't just like, oh, like a yes or no question, like, oh, am I going to find love today or something,
Right,
like it
right,
can't be that way. Like it has to be a question that will allow me to grow and expand. Like so
right.
when that answer comes in, it's like, okay, you need to do this. This is going to help you, like, I don't know, raise your vibration today, or like no yes or no questions. Basically, we here for growth. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, exactly. I love that you brought that up because every time I thought about when you get messages from spirit, it's a
Mm-hmm.
holistic answer. So you have to it's not an answer, it's not a yes or no answer. It's
Yeah.
holistic.
Yeah.
It's looking at, like I said, spirit is in past, present, and future. It's giving you a holistic view of everything so that you
Yeah.
can use that message right now as a tool to like give you understanding to move forward. So even though sometimes it doesn't make complete sense, sometimes you have to process, sometimes you got to sit with it, sometimes you got to meditate with it, because you're getting a view from spirit. Like spirit is everything, like knows everything past, present, and future. So you're getting messages from that space, and that's why it's so important to be in your heart space. So important to be grounded. It's so important to be in your highest vibration, because when you're
Mm-hmm.
getting those messages, that's the space, that's like the clarity you have to come with, so you can be like, okay, this doesn't quite make sense to me, let me think about it holistically, and
Mm-hmm.
then it'll start making sense. Like, oh, okay, I see. Like, I had to use this from my past so that it's a lesson I had to learn so I can move forward, because sometimes you're just
Mm-hmm.
like, why am I going through this right now? But you don't know 2 years later that you had to go through that so that you're prepared for a new situation.
Yes.
So it's
Woo!
things like
Yes.
that. And
Yes.
I also love that you brought, like, when you're shuffling your cards or whatever, sometimes like they fly out or they land a certain way. Like, that's important too. That's also a form of communication. Like,
Yes.
some people, like, there's so many different ways to like read cards. Like, you can shuffle them and then, like, let them fly out. You can like count, you can hear a number and like count how many numbers. Like, okay, you get a 5 number, okay, I'm gonna pull the 5th card. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
so many different ways. Like, this is where you connect with your spirit and like watch the messages, because sometimes it could fly out upside down, you know, that means something. It could fly out right side up. That means something. It could fly out and lay on its side. Like that means something. It could
Yeah.
fly on your lap. You know, it could fly over your head. Like all of those are like different messages to add in what's already on the card. So
Yes.
it gets really, really deep. You know, like as deep as you want to go, it gets that deep. So it's really, really a beautiful tool. Like it's an ancient tool that's been used for like years and years and years from people that were like connected to spirit. Like this isn't a new thing. Like tarot and oracle isn't new.
Isn't
Like
new at all.
very ancient, like extremely ancient. So I just wanted to like add that in because that's I like how you saw that. Like that's so important.
It is. It is. You know, I'm wondering, like, because I was sitting here also thinking about, like, when I first started reading my tarot. Oh my gosh, I used to bring my cards everywhere.
Yes,
I would never
yes.
forget. I would never forget this. We were at, like, we took my mom to lunch at a like Korean barbecue spot. I got the cards out, like. At the Korean barbecue spot, like, what y'all want to know? And then we were just talking. I don't know. How were you when you first like started? Like, I had my cards everywhere, ready to like give a reading, like to anybody that would ask, and even if they didn't ask, I'm like, look, this was going on with you.
I was the same way. Oh my God, I was the same way. And I like that you brought it up because one thing with the cards, like, is you have to connect with them. Like when you get cards, the information is in there, the pictures, the imagery, all of that, the definitions, all of that's in there. But you have to put your energy into those cards. Like you have to connect with them. You have to use them. So like if you think you're gonna use the cards like once every 2 years, unless you already like really tapped in like that, it's not gonna work. Like you're gonna get very basic messages, not gonna make sense. So yeah, when I first started, y'all could see like some of these cards toe up, like they got little spots and shit on. I don't know if you can really see it with this camera, but I took them shits everywhere. And it's funny because at the time I was traveling so much. Like the job I was at had me traveling like every week. So like they got like tethered a lot because I had to keep packing and unpacking, packing and unpacking. But I always had my cards with me. I don't give a fuck where I went at. My cards are there. They in my book bag or they in my suitcase. They always with me, and I'm always pulling. Like any situation, I kind of started off like every day I'm gonna pull a card for myself.
Yes.
So I can get the different cards and start learning, you know, what does this mean for me? What does it mean from the book? Like what everything means and start to connect with it. And it's funny because the way spirit worked, like it kept me like within 5 cards for a while. Like I kept pulling, I was shuffling, but the same cards would come out. So I can learn those cards. And that's the energy I was in at the time. Then I started learning, then the new cards started coming out. So it's just really, it's magical. It's a really magical tool to use because it's just so cool to get like the different spreads, the different cards and you know the different meanings, and then you'll start seeing something in life that reflects the cards. Like it's really magical. Like I love
that's what that meant. Like
exactly. So Naima, I want to tap in a little bit, and then I'm gonna tap into y'all in the chat because I see y'all going in. Tarot. I want to talk a little bit about Oracle, and then I'm gonna let you talk about Tarot because they're 2 different systems. Of course, they're both spiritual tools, but they're 2 different systems. Tarot is like structured it's structured a certain way. Oracle is more, I would say, intuitive. If I could, you mentioned this before, Naima, that tarot reminds you of like the masculine side and Oracle reminds you of like the feminine side.
You said that.
I said that? I said that? Okay.
When you said it, I was like, yeah, I like that. Yeah.
I know I was talking to you when I said it. I just
we were on live having a conversation. Yeah.
It just reminds me because there's like with Oracle, there's a system. Like it goes like to numbers, to astrology. There's certain arcanas, there's certain levels to it. Like it's really structured in tarot. Oracle is very, very intuitive. Like it's not structured. It's very like
Free
based on your
flowing.
own intuition, right?
Yeah.
Very, very free flowing. Um, and also with oracle cards, when I think about oracle, just like earlier you were talking about protection and the alarm went off in the car, like
Mhm.
that's how oracle works. Like it just you'll randomly get messages from random places that you never could even think of, that's tapping into what you're talking about right now or what
Mhm.
vibration you're in right now. So with oracle cards, there's not really a structure of it's in this level or that level. Some oracle cards are structured along with tarot, and a lot of times they'll have the definitions in the book. Like this is the sun card in tarot, or this is the lover's card in tarot. Like it'll correlate. Sometimes they'll do that, but most of the time, oracle is just like you said, Naima, is very free flowing. Like you pull a card and you have to use your own
Mhm.
intuition to get the message. Like it has to be based off of your own like flow of intuition. It's not so wordy. It's not a lot of definitions. Like this deck, it just has the picture of a card and like the name of it, like the dog, and then he says dog and then it gives a number. Like there's
Mhm.
no definition there for you to look at. It's like you have to intuit that. So it's very, very feminine. Oracle is very feminine. You have to really listen with your I heard listen with your third eye. Like it's basically
Yeah.
it's a very intuitive internal listening that you have to use when you're using oracle cards. And then Naima, I want you, because you're more tapped into the tarot side, I want you to talk a little bit more about tarot and like using tarot and how that's been like.
So I love how you said that Oracle is more intuitive, but this is why you have. I'm gonna share a story too. This is why you have people that say I'm an intuitive tarot reader.
Mm,
So you're very true. You're correct. Tarot is very structured because you have like the major arcana, you have the minor arcana, and the minor arcana is broken into suits that represent
mm,
basically the four elements: earth, wind, fire,
mm,
and water. Right? And then you have
mm,
the major arcana, which they say are represent like the fool's journey, like spiritual events, major events that go on through your life.
mm,
And so yes, you can pull a card. It's easy for people, I would say, to learn how to read tarot because you do have that structure, and it's the same
mm,
across every different type of tarot deck. Sometimes there's an oracle tarot deck, but
mm,
if it mimics the tarot, it still has like that same structure, so you can like use the guidebook and learn how to read. And I'm gonna share this story. This is why I would call myself intuitive. I'm an intuitive tarot reader because I don't always go off of the actual meaning. That So if it's like a four of swords, I may see something else. I
mm,
very like image and symbolism. I'm very into symbolism. Like tarot and
mm,
oracle is like another language as far as like symbols go. Like you're learning how to read symbolism and apply them to your question or the person that you're reading for. But here's a quick story. I remember going to this like festival. It was like some kind of pagan festival. It was interesting and fun. So me and my friend, we get there, and she got a reading from somebody. Now no shade. Okay, so look, so the lady, I didn't like this. Okay, so the lady is giving her a reading, right? So it's like a little like a tent thing, and
mm,
there's all these little different things. So the lady has like different like items that she sells, and then she also sits at the table to give you a reading. So she's
mm.
giving my friend a reading, and I'm listening to it. I'm like, okay, it just sounds very from the book. You know what I mean?
Yep,
Like because
yep,
with tarot, because the way tarot is, everything has a meaning. So if you're great at knowing all the meanings of it, then you can read for anybody. So
right.
this was what kind of like made me look sideways. So she's giving my friend this reading, right? Then all of a sudden, somebody like come up on this side and they're like grabbing like some little items. Let's say some like I don't know journals or something she's selling. She gonna break away from the reading like, hey, are you interested in buying one of those things? Like, okay, I'm doing a reading right now. Like, I'll get with you and like how you break away from a reading. Like you're supposed to be tapped in and connected to this person's energy
Mm,
and really receiving messages from the divine or whatever. If you
mm,
tap into her guides or whatever, how you just break away from that, worrying about a sale or something? Like I just was
mm,
like,
mm.
so
Yep,
when it the tarot, it's easy to kind of like learn, especially if you practice it for so many years. Yeah, you can, whatever cards can fall out, and you can create a story for that. but this is where I would, and there's other readers out there that call themselves intuitive tarot, because I go off of what am I feeling and what am I like
Mhm.
seeing. I don't necessarily go like the structure to it is secondary for me. It's
Mm.
intuitive first. So if I see like the Lover's card, I might not necessarily mean go into like, oh, that has something to do with like your partner. That can very
Mhm.
well just mean the masculine and feminine energy within you that
Yeah.
you need to work on, you
Yeah.
know? And you look at the colors in the card, you look at the number in the card. Like that's the intuitive part of reading tarot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but I love that though, because like yeah, I love the tarot because it is also, I feel like it really helps connect with this realm that we live in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
in the 3D, we're in this physical realm. So if something comes up with a bunch of pentacles, we know that that has something to do with family, health, your
Yep.
career,
Yep.
material things. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If you got a lot of cups that come up, we know that's about your emotional body. You
Mm-hmm.
know, how are you feeling? Even relationships. You have your
Mm-hmm.
swords that come up. We know that's all about the mind and the intellect and
Yep.
your decision making, even how
Yep.
you communicate or how you receive. You know, we get the wands. That's all about passion and your
Mm-hmm.
spirit. You know, things
Mm-hmm.
that excite you and
Mm-hmm.
things that light a fire up under that ass. What do you love to
Mm-hmm.
do? You know, so
Mm-hmm.
it's beautiful. I love tarot because of all the layers that it has. Um, but you always want to bring your intuition to everything that you do, because there's
Yep.
something very authentic about that. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
you pull it from your intuition, you're really able to connect with that person on a personal level. And I feel like that reading at that festival, it wasn't like a personal,
Right.
connection. She was just able to like basically pull from a chart and go and that's it. Where's the actual authentic connection? So that's
Yep.
where your intuition really plays an important role. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That's very important. I love that you told that story. It just kind of reminds me of like doctors and how when you go to medical school, there's a textbook definition for all diseases, what medicine you're supposed to take, and all this kind of shit. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of doctors are very, very by the book. They're very like logical about, okay, you have this disease, you need to take this pill, or you need to get surgery, or whatever the fuck. But everybody's body is different, everybody's situation is different. So you have to actually connect with the person to know, okay, the textbook says that they need to take these pills for 6 months, but this person is a little bit more sensitive to pills. They also don't take pills all the time, so maybe I should recommend something else. You have to actually connect with the person and their body, and like their specific situation in order to know how to diagnose them. You know what remedy that you're going to give them. Like that reminds me of how you use tarot and oracle. Like
Mm-hmm.
yes, the book, you're going to have these books that give you these generic definitions of what it means, but you have to be first of all tapped into yourself in order to tap into the other person enough to know their situation, and then you apply the knowledge that you, or the definition, what that means for that person. So it kind of works hand in hand. I would say like intuition first, because you have to be connected with yourself, the cards, as well as the person. If you're reading for another person, you have to be
Yeah.
connected in three different areas and then like bring them together. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Versus just like, oh, I read this and I know that it means that, and that's what I'm going to deliver to the person. Where if that was the case, you could have just told them to fucking Google the lover's card and they could have looked it up for themselves. Like, what's the difference? Like, why are they coming to me?
Right.
No, the human interaction is for a reason. Like this isn't AI where it's just gonna fucking
Right.
give you the definition. Like we're two humans communicating. Like I'm gonna use my energy to connect to your energy and then like tie that in with the definition. Like that all has to come together. That's why you come into a human. Other than that, you can just fucking go on Google. Like,
Yeah.
Google has everything. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you told that story because it's very important for you to be tapped in yourself in order
Yeah.
to like really deliver the message that is spiritual. Because if you're
Mm-hmm.
just reading a definition, there's nothing spiritual about that.
Yep. And this is like another thing I always like to share is that when you're getting a reading, whether it's like from me or from somebody else from YouTube, it should ring some type of bell within you. Like if something should resonate. You should never like force a message. And I'm sharing this because when I first started my spiritual journey, I was like addicted to the YouTube like readings, like no joke. I was on there all the time, every day. And I'm glad I had this experience because at some point I was like, okay, these messages don't apply, and you have to be ready to, you have to have that discernment. Like everything, remember the YouTube world is general readings. Like the entire message may not like apply to you. It may be like one little blurb that somebody says and you're like, oh wow, and that's probably all you need, you know. So just keep that in mind, because I was like, it got to the point where I was like, okay, this is an addiction. let me stop, you know, kind of thing. And I started tapping more into myself. I remember I was and this is one of the things I learned about my growth too. Like I'm watching this tarot reader and I'm like, her shit sounding the same every day, like every week or whatever. It's like the messages and every time the Queen of Swords came out, she'd be like, off with their head. Like I'm like, I don't think it means off with their head every time. Like I started kind of like, okay, this ain't making sense. Let me just do my own stuff. Like I just started reading for myself, and like, you know, it's all part of the journey because I needed to have that experience, you know, and realize like every and it's just like I said to anybody that's going through that, where they're out there like going through all these different tarot readings, just make sure that one, the message, there's something there that resonates with you on a soul level, and B, don't apply something that does like, don't make it fit. If somebody talking about, yeah, sounds like you're having like I don't know, let's say it's a message about, yeah, there's somebody in your life that's like talking, you know, that's betraying you behind your back because they got the Seven of Swords. That for some reason that's always about betrayal, which is not, but that's another story. So like they bring up the seven. So there's somebody in your life that's like betraying you or being sneaky behind your back, and you like, yeah, and you try to apply it to somebody, like, and you don't fuck up your relationship. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah.
Facts. That's, it all goes back to you making a connection. You got to have your own connection. You got to listen to your own self. Everything doesn't apply to everybody.
Right.
So that I'm glad you brought that up. So we're getting close to the hour mark. So I want to tap into the chat a little bit. I want to open up the space also because, you know, we do pull cards for people. I want to okay, before we even get into that, I want to kind of make a little bit of an announcement. Is that me and Naima are we're collabing together to create a workshop for people to learn how to read and tap into tarot and oracle. So we're coming together to create a workshop. It's going to be more than likely a 3-part series of how to use cards the correct way, because it's so, like you said, the YouTube world of like people pulling cards and, you know, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and, you know, maybe there's something that you want to do, and reading cards isn't for everybody. Like if that doesn't resonate with you, it just doesn't resonate with you. Don't force it. Like some people are already tapped into this. Like it's easy for them to read cards because it's easy for their spirit to communicate to them through cards, through the oracle and the tarot portal. I want to call it a portal because it's really a portal. And because it is a portal, you can go in there and get lost. So there's certain things that you got to be aware of when you're going into this like reading the card world. First of all, for yourself, and especially if you're going to be trying to read cards for somebody else. That's a whole nother set of shit.
Yeah.
So we want to come together to give people the correct information, because it's just like, because this has become this spiritual and reading cards and stuff has become so like mainstream now. Everybody's trying to do it. Everybody's trying to just like do like read for people and pull cards, and they don't know what the fuck they're doing, and it's like really causing a fucked up situation for that energy. Like reading cards is very sacred, it's very magical, and it's very spiritual. And now it's becoming like diluted because so many people are tapping into it that number one, are not supposed to be tapping into it because that's not their thing, and number two, that don't know what the fuck they're doing and they're trying to teach people that
because they're not connected.
because
They truly aren't connected to themselves. So, and this is another thing I want to say too. You can read, you might be drawn to it, but you probably just want to read for yourself. You know what I'm saying? It can be just a personal tool for you. You don't have to like start a YouTube channel and become a tarot reader. Don't feel that pressure. You know what I mean? Just because you can just you know what's funny though? You can like get a message all by yourself, right? And be so compelled to share the message you receive, and it has nothing to do with the cards. Like, you're not necessarily showing the cards to the world, you know, you just got this message and you're like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful, I want to share it. That don't necessarily mean you need to show, you know, and be a reader. You know, you may just want to receive the messages and the guidance from your team through this divination tool, and you're like, okay, I like this message, I feel inspired to share, and I'm gonna share it. You don't necessarily have to be, you know, a reader, a tarot reader.
Very, very true. Reader. Very, very true. That reading cards is something very, I call it, it's not, my spiritual teacher used to tell me this, it's not secret, it's sacred. It's a very sacred thing. And sometimes you're not called to share that with everybody. It's just something, it's like prayer. When you don't go telling people, oh, I prayed for this and da da da. That's between you and spirit. So like this is a very sacred thing. And it's like only if you're being called to share it, because you're sharing a part of yourself, like a part of your very intimate space where you connect with spirit. And you become in a space of vulnerability, which goes back to the protection space. If you're not protected and you're out here sharing, pulling cards with people, like opening yourself up to other people, pulling cards, and you don't have the protection around you, that's going to cause a lot of shit. So again, all of that to say, we're coming together to create a workshop so that, number one, you know this is for you. Number two, how to do it correctly, having some like guidelines and just kind of like basic shit that you need to know when you're like tapping into using cards. And also, like, if you want to read for other people, like that's another level of things that you need to understand before you start pulling cards for other people. Because there's a level of vulnerability that you have to make sure that you're protected in that vulnerable space before you start doing that. So just kind of, we just throwing that out there so y'all can look forward to it. Just like, you know, stay tapped so we can you know, post about that. So I'm gonna tap into the chat real quick. I want to go ahead and open up the space to like pull a card for anyone that needs a message, that needs some guidance right now. If not, we'll put it for the collective.
You know, I thought was funny too is that as we were talking about this, it made me remember like when I first started working with tarot. I remember this card that came out. It was called the Witch's Oracle, and this card that came out, because now I see the clarity now. Like it said tarot, right, and it had all these tarot cards, tarot at the top, at the bottom it said guidance. And like that's what my readings are for. My readings are not here to predict your future and to delve into your past. I'm here to help you with guidance for your now. Like, what is it that you need guidance for right now? Because that's how I use it. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to share that because I didn't, when you were talking about past, present, and future, you know, so I was like, yo, like that message is clearly like what I'm here, what my tarot game is for guidance. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, and I like to use it for perspective, because it's like if I'm going to my cards, that means I don't have a clear perspective. You know, this is all about you knowing what to do. And you know, life happens, so sometimes you don't know. You know, you always know, but you're just not connected to the know. I would say it like that. Because you know, you might be in a bad mindset, or you just might be too busy or just confused. So in those spaces where it's like I can't really connect with the answer right now, let me meditate. And sometimes I meditate and get the answer, I don't even got to get to the cards. Sometimes that happens. But like when I try to like calm myself down, I'm like, okay, I still can't quite get the answer, the perspective, and I kind of want it a little bit quicker. You're gonna get the answer, but that's when I go to my cards. So it's always for me perspective, you know, like to get a clearer or holistic perspective, because sometimes we can't really see clearly what's happening just because life is life, and like you just have to be able to get into that clarity space to be able to get the full clarity. So that's
Mm-hmm.
I use my cards to do that. And of course, I help with reading other people, like connecting with other people and doing that for them because that's what it is, getting the perspective and the clarity. So when some
Yeah.
people can't find the perspective or the clarity, they come to me and then I use the cards because I don't want to. It's like you have to get to know a person within an hour, you know. So the card
Okay.
and it's hard to do, like I don't really know you like that or know your situation. The cards help me to like see, oh, this is what's going on. Okay, let's work within that space.
Mhm.
So I don't see anybody posting, so I think we can just pull collectively.
I was guided to pull. I'm gonna do tarot too, but I was guided to pull from this deck. So I'm gonna see what card comes out. This is
Oh
interesting.
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
That's a totem deck. It looks like a totem deck.
sacred
Sacred.
spherical reading. Spherical. Why I say spherical? That's funny.
Spiritual. Okay, making up a spirit oracle. I love
Let's
it.
see. I'm gonna pull one of these and then I'm gonna pull the tarot. Why was this? Why did you want to come out today? Hmm.
Collective reading. What message does collective everyone listening to this have right now? Clarity.
Woo, child.
Hmm.
I got that message to say Instagram disconnected the stream.
Oh shit.
I don't know if I just leave it right there, I guess.
Nah, we still on. We still on. You still pulling?
Yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah, I'm pulling
Okay.
tarot.
I'm gonna start it off by the first card that I got, um, which is spells alchemy.
What does it say?
It's a spells alchemy. Can you see?
No. Spells. Oh, spells.
Spells. Yep. Spells alchemy. So it says something you hold dear, a relationship, a job, an interest, or an object, or even yourself will transform mysteriously into something that's even more precious to you. The spells card indicates that you are starting to discover the possibilities. The art of transforming offers you possibilities you haven't even realized were out there. As you learn more, you will find your needs change and a kind of evolution takes place where you find you desire only what is best for yourself. You have the Midas touch right now. Your standards and expectations become so pure. And whatever you touch turns into metaphoric golds. You will be supported in gaining a new sense of self worth, which will draw all that you deserve and desire directly to you. It says that this is a time of transformation. All is turning out beautifully. You have the power to change the situation. Believe in your self worth, have a positive expectation, and you have the ability to succeed. Your intentions are pure. Your intentions are key, which goes back to what we were talking about today. So with this card, the Coyote card came out, and then Love Abounds came out. So what I was hearing as I was pulling these cards, first of all, number one, the first thing I that came to me was this heat. So I saw that that kind of like that cauldron with the spells coming out. It looks like heat is coming out. So everywhere is like, well, a lot of places, and especially where I am, it's like a heat wave coming through. It's like the temperature, and it just turned summer, but the temperature is like higher than it normally is. Like it's really, really hot everywhere. And it just reminds me of alchemy. Like the element of fire is alchemizing, like it's transforming. Like fire transforms things. Um, the first thing that even came out before I pulled the cards. And then with the coyote coming out, and I'll get to love abounds, but the basically what's happening is that things are transforming. The coyote is the trickster. Like the coyote basically represents how we trick ourselves, how our ego like makes us think things, certain things are things, but they're not. Like we see them a certain way that has nothing to do with the truth of the situation. So with this card coming out with this heat, is basically giving me like the fact that the heat, like the world is heating up, like it's hot right now, is a reflection of the energy that is like things are heating up in our lives. Like things are getting like heat, like you know how they say like if it's too hot for you to get out the kitchen, yeah, like things are hot right now. Like it's time for change and transformation. And it's like that. Things get heated in your life, things get heated in situations because change needs to happen. So if you're at a job or a relationship or whatever situation it is that is like it's heating up, things are like hot. And I know y'all know what I mean when things are hot. When I say things are hot, meaning like it's a lot going on. It's making you like, oh shit, like what do I do? That means it's time for a change. Like you need to alchemize the situation. You need to really tap into what, pull yourself out of the situation and go into yourself and find out, what do I want for myself? That's where you need to start getting into. So it's like, okay, the kitchen's on fire. Like it's hot in this kitchen. Do you need to turn up the AC? Do you need to turn down the aisle a little bit so it's not cooking so strongly? Like what do you need? These are all I'm speaking metaphorically. These are all things that you need to look at. Like you need to make a decision. Something needs to change. It's too hot right now. So stop tricking yourself. Stop using your ego to say, oh, it's supposed to be like this. Like, oh, this is what it's supposed to happen. No, it's hot for a reason because something needs to change. At the end of the day, it's all out of love. You need to find the love in yourself so that you can find the solution to this situation that's causing it to be hot. So basically, it's giving whatever situation, wherever you are, things are getting hot. Like it's just a lot going on, so that you can change, so that you can make a different direction. Like it's not comfortable being in a hot kitchen. Eventually, you got to get out of that kitchen. So this situation that you're in is causing a lot of heat. You're gonna have to find a way to get out of that situation or diffuse it. So something has to be done. Along with the heat, fire element, that's action. You got to take action. You can't just sit there and say, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. No, you got to do something about it. But in order to find out how to do what to do, you need to find that space of love. So that's where going back and saying, like, what do I want now? Like, what do I need? What do I want? Not based off of the situation. Like, if it's a job, you can't focus on the job. You got to focus on you. If it's a relationship, you can't focus on the relationship. You got to focus on you right now to find the answer to how to bring that heat down. Because if you stay in there too long, you're going to burn up. If you stay in there too long, you're going to pass out. Like something's going to happen. You may get sick, like whatever the case may be. It's not supposed to stay like that hot for that long. This is just a sign to go back to you. So that's what I got.
Okay. I'm listening because I'm like I'm feeling it with these cards that came out, and I love that you had the heart card, like go into your heart. So the two oracle cards that came out was spiritual evolution, set your heart free.
Wow.
And then ground your light, let your soul shine. right? And what that is, how that, the way that I see that is when you were talking about that fire, like
Mm-hmm.
that you need to like pull it down, like with this, with it saying like let your soul shine. So the collective, I feel like we're all going through like some sort of spiritual evolution, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we need to find time to like sit with self and bring those like downloads in, bring them down into this realm, which is with grounding our light so that we can shine. So that we can shine, basically. And what that means, it's not that cookie cutter shine your light kind of thing. It's more of like grow. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you're shining, you're growing, right? You are
Mm-hmm.
allowing yourself to be, to be, basically. Like, so we
Mm-hmm.
bring in the we bring in our downloads and our guidance from our spiritual team, from our guides, and that is the light that we're bringing in, and that is allowing us to grow and like shine and be, if that makes sense. it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like it sounds like it feels different, like how I'm trying to explain it. But what I do love too is that how you talked about the spells, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's time for you to like step into your God, your divinity. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we got the magician card here, and the magician is all about having all the resources that you need. You have everything that you need to create the life that you want, right? To create whatever desired outcome it is that you want. And then we have, like I mentioned earlier, we have the Lover's card here. So
Mm-hmm.
to the Queen of Swords. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
what it's telling me is that whatever going on, like you're having some like what's the word, conflicting thoughts, right? Like conflicting thoughts, or you don't know what kind of decisions to make, right? The tricking energy. Well, you know exactly what it is that you need to do. The queen, she has all the clarity in the world. She's very confident in her decision making. She's very confident in how she communicates with others. So you have everything, and it's these cards are in between, like the queen. Okay, look at this. She is in between the lover's card. I can't really see, and the musician and the magician.
Wow. Wow.
With her being in the center, like this is the center energy. Trust. You need to trust those
Mm-hmm.
downloads that are coming in. You need to trust the guidance and the messages that's coming from your higher self, from your spirit team, from whoever it is that you just recently asked a question to. Trust that it comes in. You know it. You have all that you need to do to make that decision, or to communicate with that person. You just got to harmonize those trickster thoughts, like find a way to harmonize
Mm-hmm.
that energy. Look at it from both
Mm-hmm.
sides, weigh out the options. You got this, fam. You got this.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm. I love. Oh my God! It's just it's so. And see, this is how the cards work. Like, to even go back, like we always say this, but like you're reading from a specific deck, I'm reading from a specific deck, but they always connect. They always speak about the same type of message,
mhm.
which is kind of goes back to the magic of reading cards and using that as a tool. But I love that. First of all, the fact that you talked about the Queen of Swords and the Lover's card, and then it came out.
Right.
Number one. But I was just like listening to you and like hearing more messages as you was talking about, and what I got was we like life is. I'm weird about using the word test, but I would say life challenges us to
Yeah, I agree.
use our gifts, to because it's like we have these gifts, some things that we're aware of that we are not aware of, and that maybe we have a little inkling about, but sometimes life challenges us, aka the heat gets hot
Mhm.
around you, so that you can like when you don't know what to do, you just like, I don't really know how to handle the situation. Something will come out of you to like help you handle that situation. And sometimes we have to go through these challenges, these rough times, so that something in us will come out gift that will give us the gift or the answer to move through that heat. So, like, just for example, and this is the analogy that I heard, like, while you were speaking, Naima, is at some point, you know, we didn't have AC, we didn't have houses, we didn't have like shade, like none of this shit. And at one point, like in our evolution as humans, we feel like, okay, we can't live in this heat. Like it's too hot. We're gonna pass out, we're gonna burn up, like it's gonna burn our skin. Somebody created AC, somebody created a house. That was out of a necessity, you know, like something in a person was like, let's figure out how to create this air that blows cold that will cool us so that we don't burn up in this heat. That's what I mean by you have the gifts. Like you brought up the card, the Queen of Swords. Like you know what to do. You have it in you. But sometimes challenges have to come. The heat has to come. And you have to get in this situation where like, I don't know what to do, to where you pull deep down inside of yourself and pull out this gift of like, I'm going to create AC so that I don't burn up. And I'm saying that metaphorically, like you may pull a gift out that gives you the exact answer that you need in the situation to move you forward. So that's all of that to say, like, that's the energy that we're in right now. Like, don't look at situations as it's going to take you out, because it's not. This is just spirit, the universe, pressuring you a little bit so that you can start digging in and pulling out these gifts that are in you, because it's time for you to actually use those gifts.
So that you can evolve, spiritual evolution. That is where the collective is right now. We are all going through a spiritual evolution. Yeah, absolutely.
So just like a diamond, it got to be pressured before it turns into the diamond. You're getting that pressure right now, but don't use the perspective of that it's going to take you out. Use the perspective of like, this is going to pull a gift out of me. And I'm promise you, as soon as you get in that mindset, it's going to come out.
Yeah.
It's going to come out. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and close out the live this week. We appreciate everybody tapping in. We didn't really get to tap into the chat. I want to shout out to everybody that was in the chat. We didn't really get to tap
in. My thing turned off. I don't even know how to go to it. We're gonna have to figure this out next time. I'm like, I don't even know. I don't think I was live. I went in the thing, and it didn't show that I was live. So I don't even know if I did something right.
Oh man. Yeah, we can check in on that. But yeah, it says
I showed up though. Look, I showed up, so that's all that matters.
We here, we deliver the message. That's all that matters. So yeah, appreciate y'all tapping in, even though we didn't shout y'all out, but we appreciate y'all tapping in, receiving the messages, and showing up for yourself, because at some point, like I said earlier, your spirit sent you here to receive something. So thank you for listening to that and showing up and receiving. So y'all have a good weekend. Thanks for tapping in. We will see y'all in the next week or two with more. And stay tapped in for this workshop, because we're gonna put it together as soon as we're ready and have everything in order. We'll release it for everybody to get in the workshop.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Bye.